I am Professor Pankaj Sharma, your co-host of the day. I'll be coordinating with you all the short-term training program on trending technologies for the future, which is going to start from today, and it is of 4 days STTP. All are requested to maintain dignity of this workshop, though we all are meeting online, but the intention and the subject remains offline, that is to learn in a good environment. Our speaker, our eminent speaker, respected principal madam, respected HOD sir of electrical department will be joining us very soon. Till then, and after the start of this program, I'm requesting you to maintain the dignity.
Pankaj sir, Chaubey sir is going to join. So when the Chaubey sir join, please start your session, na?
Yes, sir.
Madam Bisul madam has been joined also, and she has been joined.
Okay,
And
thank you, sir.
sir is also joined.
Okay, thank you, sir. As a humble and responsible beginning towards empowering of our society through technology to create a better tomorrow, the Electrical Engineering Department of SISTEC E, Rathiwad campus presents you 4 days technical training program, that is short-term technical program STTP, on trending technologies for the future. That is organized by Rajiv Gandhi Pradyogiki Vishwavidyalaya under TechUv 3. Dear participants, imagining a more usable technology and improving to create better and easy version and implementing it to further benefit mankind is the key idea of to develop any kind of technology. It is an online diaspora and platform for technical students to strengthen and sharpen their technical soundness. Ideas are like legs. What good are they if you cannot run with them? Everything begins to shape up before its actual existence with an idea. Yes, dear participants, everything begins to shape up before its actual existence with an idea. Ideas induces imagination, imagination fluxes out to reach for improvement, and these together with powerful and proper implementation makes a dynamic engineer. Today, we have with us online respected Dr. S.C. Chaubey sir, Coordinator TechUp 3, Rajiv Gandhi Pradyogiki Vishwavidyalaya Bhopal, Dr. Jyoti Deshmukh Madam, respected Principal, SISTEC Rathiwad Campus, Professor Ashish Singhal, HOD EE Department, SISTEC Rathiwad Campus, and our eminent speaker for this short-term training program, Dr. Shri Ram K. Vasudevan. Sir is Assistant Professor, Computer Science, School of Engineering, Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, Coimbatore. I would like to request our honorable and respected principal madam to share her views and bless her with her kind words.
पंकज सर प्लीज मैडम का माइक ऑन करिए.
Yes, sir.
और सबों को माइक म्यूटेड करके रखिए.
Yes, sir. I'm doing this.
Okay, good afternoon to all the participants. Honorable guest of honor, Dr. S.C. Chaubey, the TechUp coordinator of RGPV Bhopal, our torch bearer, always a guide mentor, the honorable speaker of this 4 days STTP program, Dr. Sriram Vasudevan sir, the head of the department, Mr. Ashish Singhal, and all the dear participants of this 4 days STTP program, heartiest good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to this STTP program, which has been organized by SISTEC E in association with RGPV. So that I would say the topic itself is very interesting. And that is the technologies for future. It's a wonderful topic. And I would say we are blessed with a brilliant and most appropriate speaker for this program, Dr. Sriram sir. I must welcome him for this STTP, and I thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation for this. So, dear students, it is important that these technological changes are to be adopted, are to be learned at very early stage. As most of you are the undergraduate students, you must be knowing that the technology is evolving at very fast pace. And in that case, actually, but if you look at the careers or the jobs which are there in the industry, they are not improving at that speed, but I would say they are evolving. Like, for example, what I'm saying is that the professionals, especially who are working in the industry, they are realizing that there are different technological trends and they have to adopt those technological trends. Even the UG students, PG students, the PhDs also are to be kept that pace, and they have to upgrade their skills as per the changes, because by that time I would say the annual report on how the technology is varying or changing, the impact of the technological trend is being published. By that time, that technology is absolute. So this is how is the era of 2020, and this is the era of 21st century. So everybody has to keep learning in that case. So wonderful topic. And as I said, Sriram sir will be addressing the most important technologies which are very much relevant for the computer science as well as electrical and electronics and communication engineering students, I would say. And those technologies are nothing but the IoT, and that is Internet of Things. Then I would say another technology he will be addressing is nothing but the AI, machine learning and deep learning, and the trends which are there in the virtual reality and the augmented reality. Very important topics. I'm sure that he'll be addressing all these trends beautifully, narrating everything to you with all live examples. If I talk about these trends in very short words, small, then in that case, I would say IoT is nothing but like many things are connected through Wi-Fi. It means that the things are connected through internet, and it means they are connected through internet and they are connected with each other. That is nothing but the things or Internet of Things. So this IoT is having immense potential. The by 2020, I read in one report that by 2020 around 30 billion devices are being connected through this IoT technology. And in that case, if you look at the potential of this technology, as per the experts, the skilled potential professionals are that much not available with us, especially the students as well as the people who are working in the industry. So this is the highly demanding technology which has to be learned dedicatedly. Another technology which he will be talking on is nothing but the AI and machine learning and deep learning. The AI, artificial intelligence, has created a lot of buzz in the industry, in the professional world, and I would say this is the most demanded field on the LinkedIn. I would say 2,000 plus listed jobs are available every day in this field. So look at the way the jobs are coming in this era also, in this technology also. And the third technology we'll be talking on is nothing but the virtual and augmented reality. Virtual reality actually immerses the learners or the users into the environment, wherein actually the augmented reality enhances that environment. So the AR or VR, they are having great potential, especially in the field of marketing, then training, education, So these are the fields in which AR and VR are immensely used. Entertainment industry, I would say. So again, there is a job market in this technology. So in nutshell, I would say the professionals who are working and the students who are learning, they have equal opportunity to learn all these technologies properly and understand it, because learning never stops. So being it as an undergraduate or the professional, you have to keep on learning. So I think that Mr. Sriram, he'll be delivering all these topics beautifully, and I'm sure that this is the wonderful session. This is going to be a wonderful session for all of you, because we need to understand by 30 the coming 30-40 years, by in which you will be working as a professional. In that case, actually, what will be the scenario, what are the job skills available, or what are the jobs available, and what skills are to be developed amongst ourselves is needed to be understood. So without wasting time, I must hand over this session to the organizers. Once again, heartiest congratulations to the electrical department. Thank you so much, Chobe sir, for giving this opportunity to us to organize this program. And I would say happy learning to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, madam. And very well said that learning is the continuous process and key to success. Thank you so much again for your constant motivation and encouragement. Dear participants, now I would like to brief about TechCube. The project third phase of Technical Education Quality Improvement Program, that is referred to as TechCube 3, is fully integrated with the 12th five-year plan objectives for technical education as a key component for improving the standard and the quality of engineering education in existing institutions and support to strengthen few affiliated technical universities just to improve their policy, academic and management practices. The project is implemented through the Ministry of Human Resource Development, MHRD, of the Government of India as a Central Sector Scheme, CSS, wherein 100% funds are provided as grants to the states, institutions, and ATUs. The project focuses on the following objectives: improving quality and equity in engineering institutions, system-level initiatives to strengthen sector governance and performance, which include widening the scope of affiliating technical universities to improve their policy, academic, and management practices towards affiliated institutions. Training arrangements to build capacity and improve performance of institutions and ATUs participating in focus states. Dear participants, following are learning objectives of short-term training program. The program shall enhance the technical capabilities of the participants to understand the nature and principles of IoT, deep learning, machine learning, benefiting and shaping new engineering curriculum, to describe and apply basic principles and laws, to describe and assess benefits to improvements to the system. Let me have a privilege to introduce TechCube coordinator, respected Dr. S.C. Chobe sir. Dr. S.C. Chobe sir has about 30 years of teaching and research experience. He is actively involved in the research related to the power system security, voltage stability, and microprocessors applications. He also worked exhaustively on the various classical and soft computing optimization techniques. He has supervised 7 PhDs and more than 100 ME dissertations. He credits to his name over 85 publications in various journals and conferences of national and international repute. He has been acclaimed for his work and had awarded twice with Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya Memorial Medal, twice with Tata Rao Prize Gold Medal, and thrice with with Certificate of Merit by Institute of Engineers. I would like to request respected Dr. S.C. Chobe sir to address online participants.
पंकज सर, आई होप सर को co-host बनाना पड़ेगा उसके लिए पहले.
Sir is not here. Yes, sir.
Sir, you can use your mic, sir. You can use your mic. You can become a co-host, sir.
Yeah, it is okay now. Fine. Okay, thank you, Pankaj Sharma ji. Principal Director Jyoti Usmukh and the guest of the day, Dr. Sriram K. Vasudevan, Electrical Department Head, Shri Singhal ji, and other faculty members, and the students who are present on this virtual platform to learn through a different kind of technology known as the education technology. But I'm sure that technology is not as important as learning. Technology is an effective means of organizing the learning. The term organizing means that how you can enhance the learning process. We prepare our notes, we read the books, but when we prepare the notes, it is a mechanical process. It may take while we are in the revision phase, and you have to revise 13 to 40 subjects for gate preparation. One day you have to revise. It is not possible that all the, that in one of the subject more than 50 lecture contents are stored, and while it is prepared on the hard copy, it will not be possible to turn all the pages and to revise. Here, technology helps you that yes, even if it is a 13, 14 subjects, you can revise within minutes, within hours. So that is here, but it provides a good connectivity. And the experts would have invited experts from Coimbatore, and that it would have taken 4 or 5 days, and most of the time wasting their time. With this platform, we are able to invite many experts, and even Sriram Vasudevan has been appeared twice before this event, and I know the response of the students and the faculty, and then I recommended his name to Assis that if you want to really organize some programs which is directly benefiting to our students, let's invite Dr. Vasudevan. And now the Vasudevan is here sharing his presence with us. My dear students, this is a title, this is the subject area IoT, and almost every student is willing to know about it. Every teachers want to know, because this IoT has got no boundary. And the internet, it has no boundary. Anyone can use the internet. The IoT can also be used by anyone, even the common. It is a common for the common citizen also. And when you are talking about the self-reliant India, when you're talking about the self-reliance, it means that every student must acquire some skill so that he can earn his livelihood and he can become independent. That is the real meaning of the self-reliant India, that he becomes self-reliant. And along with this, Here I can see that more than 150 participants are there. I know that some of the participants having a good pace of learning, some slow pace learning. But at this platform, what is our duty? That we have to see, we have to ensure inclusive, that learning should be of inclusive nature, where none of the students should be left. Equality and growth, equality and development, so that should be complemented, that should not be in isolation. So this is the objective of the every institutions, and the same objective SysTech Ratibad is following, and all the students are getting benefited. I have seen that while visiting that even the students of having any kind of learning pace, but they are called in the institute premises, they are called in the laboratories, and all your faculty members are working and doing very tough job to mold them and to become so that they can get a proper skill. So once I would like to extend my thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor, particularly at this moment, that he has been given I don't know, that without any barrier, he is very, very genuine to give the approvals, and you just invite, even he has facilitated all the institutions to organize similar programs, empowering the students and teachers. And today we have, the institute has invited Sriram Vasudevan, and very thankful that he has given his time. And while talking to him, he has got a feeling of serving the people, serving the Madhya Pradesh, particularly when we talked to him. This yes, anytime. Once he said that anytime, we can just give a call. I will be there, and I will be always available for the students. So it gives me a very light feel, and for this institute, I'm really very much impressed by that principal, Dr. Jyoti Doshi, very, very dynamic, and you can see that because of all his efforts, this institute is going to acquire a height. Once again, I wish to thank all management committee members and organizers, particularly Samaji who has been here, and all members who are associated directly and indirectly in conducting these programs. I would again, I would like to thank all the students present here, that you be here. You be here 4 days, and after 4 days, you will be, equipped with some modern techniques, and you will find that yes, after getting a skill, you will be demanded in the market. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to Mr. Pankaj.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being an ideal example of inspiration and motivation for all of us. It was indeed a pleasure hearing from such a senior dignitary. Now I would like to invite our Professor Ashish Singhal, sir, HOD, Electrical Engineering Department, to emphasize on this short-term training program. Ashish Singhal, sir, over to you, sir, please.
Very good afternoon to all. I welcome respected Chaubey sir from RGP Opal. I welcome Dr. Jyoti Deshmukh ma'am, Principal SysTech Ratibad. I welcome our eminent speaker, Sriram K. Vasudevan sir, because they are giving us so much precious time. I welcome all my colleagues, my HODs, my faculty members, even especially I talk about my students. वैसे तो, if I'm talking about that, after the speech of the madam, after the speech of the sir, there is no word to say. But I would really thankful to the Professor S.C. Chaubey sir, who believes in me always and give me the courage. I remember day before study, sir told me to do this program for a certain period of time. I thought then how can it possible, because it's a very less time to do it. But sir told me, don't worry, I'll arrange all the things. So I make me confident, and even I started contacting with the Sriram sir and Chaubey sir in the coordinating with each others, and we did it successfully. Dear student, if I'm talking about all the concept of this particular workshop. This is all regarding the IoT, embedded, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. See, this is I would say this is a whole package which you can understand within the 4 days. What is my dream? I really want to share my dream, because when I belong to the electrical engineering branch, all the students who told me, sir, I'm from the electrical, someone told I'm from the computer science. What I feel that engineer का कुछ branch ही नहीं होना चाहिए. उसको बोलना चाहिए if you are the engineer, you can do anything. So this is an era which I want to produce in or inculcate in my students. So I really welcome on the behalf of all the Saga group, on the behalf of the electrical department faculties, on the behalf of all the RGPB students, because they give me the chance to conduct in such a fabulous workshop so that my student can be benefited. I really heartful thankful, thanks to the Chaube sir once again, principal madam once again, because they are giving a precious time to us. Now, without wasting so much time, I think our student is waiting for the session. तो हमको ऐसा लगता है we should forward to the Shri Ram sir, Vasudevan sir. Pankaj sir, please, over to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Ashish Singhal sir, HOD, Department of Electrical Engineering, SISTEC Ratibad campus, for your constant support and motivation. Now, I would like to walk you all to the scheduled for the 4 days STTP. We will have one eminent speaker who will enlighten us with his vast knowledge, Dr. Shri Ram K. Vasudevan.
पंकज आपका माइक ऑफ हुआ है क्या?
His cable might be off. Pankaj sir, it's not audible.
Yes, you are audible, Pankaj.
So, audible, sir? Is it
Yes,
audible
audible.
now?
No audible.
Hello, is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry for the technical interruptions. Dr. Vasudevan sir is PhD and Masters in Embedded System, a startup mentor and technology consultant. 3 startups created till date, winner of the Harvard University Hack Harvard Global 2019 World Hack 2019, selected as mentor Intel IoT Advisory Board International, selected as Intel IoT Innovator and inducted into Intel Software Innovator Group, awarded Top Innovator Award 2018, Top Innovator Summit Award in year 2019. Dr. Vasudevan is also world record holder with sister Subhashri Vasudevan, only sibling in the globe to have authored 9 books together, unique world record books. Entry in Limca Book of Records for National Record 2015, entry in India Book of Records, National Record and Appreciation 2017, interested in testing, performance engineering, embedded system, Internet of Things, augmented reality and virtual reality, and teaching and training. Dr. Vasudevan has also authored and co-authored 45 books for reputed publishers across globe and authored 125 research papers in revered international journals. Dear participants, we are going to cover following topics on day basis. On day 1, we're going to learn how to make products with IoT, must know about IoT interfacing, IoT protocols, and case implementation. On day 2, we are going to learn about IoT for real life problems and products display. On day 3, we are going to learn about deep learning and machine learning, and also will tackle how to learn the same. On the fourth day, we are going to learn about augmented and virtual reality. This is all about the inaugural ceremony of this short-term training program. I very much welcome Dr. Vasudevan sir and handing over this session to Dr. Vasudevan sir. Sir, over to you.
Right. Thank you very much. First of all, good evening. Namaskar. I would like to thank one person here, Dr. Chaubey sir. He has been very kind to me every time. Chaubey sir, namaskar, and thank you very much for calling me and asking me to do all this. This keeps me encouraged. This keeps me motivated, and I am really indebted to you. So all your support and guidance, along with your blessings, is going to take me to a different level. I strongly believe. Thank you very much for your support, sir. And as I told you, I am always available at your disposal. You can call me for anything, anytime, to train people, any technology consulting work. I'm more than happy to do. Whatever I know, I can definitely do that. And thank you very much for this time as well, sir. And I would like to thank Jyoti ma'am, Ashish sir, and Pankaj sir. Thank you very much for all the coordinations and the support. Let me get into the session straight away. And I hope it will be a very subtle as well as a very neat learning experience for the participants. I'm going to make it very low level to I'll elevate it to the next level. I'm going to show you all the demos, whatever I have built, and it's going to cover all the 4 areas as already Pankaj sir has conveyed. And if you cannot hear me or if there is a technical glitch in between, just let me know. I'll correct it immediately so that it will be all meaningful during the entire duration. I have already shared the link for my YouTube channel. So there I have recorded all this and it is available for your verification and for your listening again. I have pasted that in the chat group as well. You are free to mail me for your technical queries. I have been doing this for the previous set participants who participated, and I'm getting a lot of students virtually. That's the best thing that can happen during this COVID-19 time. Rest all things are very pathetic during COVID-19. Only education goes off well. We can interact with a lot of people, and I'm doing interaction with many unknown areas, people from interior Madhya Pradesh, interior UP, Delhi. People are all contacting me through this kind of workshops. I'm very happy about it, and sincere thanks to TechCube for enabling me to do that. And I opened that here as well. I have given you already my email ID. You can reach me out for any queries. If at all I know, I will answer. Otherwise, I can refer you to the right person who can answer that question. So it's important to learn. Attitude to learn is more important than technology. Let's learn and we can try it out. And wherever you have a doubt or query, ping me. I'll be able to help you. Can we get into the session right away? I hope it's good time to start, and we will go with the next 1 hour with a lot of inputs for you to understand. I'm going to share my screen. If you see that there is anything missing in the screen, or if you're not able to see the screen, let me know. I'll be able to correct it. Right. We will go with IoT first. I'm going to show you demos. I'm going to show you the interfacing exercises. And most importantly, I'll tell you how not to do. Because IoT is all about connections. IoT is all about getting the kits with sensors, all those things. Many people make a lot of mistakes, including me. I made a lot of mistake when I started learning it. I burnt at least 15-20 kits till date. Right? I burnt so many sensors. Only then you can become an expert. It is like you being a doctor. You need to operate. Sometimes it will fail. Only then you'll become an expert. First time when you cook, it might not be good. Second time when you cook, it will be better. Third time when you cook, it's the best. So likewise, we are learning it step by step. Even now, every day, I spend a lot of time to learn something new that comes out in IoT. We'll go at learning it, and it's going to be a very small learning process, very simple learning process. I hope you will enjoy it. Let's start with the definition, right? What is IoT? There are so many definitions available. I'm telling you, n number of definitions are available, but all of them are complex. Let's make it very simple. IEEE has done the job for us. IEEE says that IoT is nothing but a network of items, each embedded with sensors, which are connected to internet. Finished. I have got network of items. It can be your car, it can be your house, it can be your aeroplane, it can be your TV, printer, fridge, whatever you have. A network of items which all have sensors embedded to it and which are connected to the internet. That's all. It's very simple, right? I need to be connected to the internet and I must have a sensor. The sensor is going to acquire a value, or it is going to read the environment and it's going to give you data. That's it is IoT. But this is not sufficient for you to explain during the interview. I'll tell you interview questions also. In interview, they may ask you define IoT. Take an example and explain. Whenever you are asked to explain something, please go with an example. Without example, things don't work. Let me take a watch, smartwatch. The smartwatch is a typical example for IoT. I am running with the smartwatch. The watch gets my heart rate. The watch gets the distance I covered, it pushes it onto the cloud, it analyzes quickly and gives you a reply saying that you walked for 25 kilometers today, you burned 2000 calories today, your heart rate is this much, you can run for some more distance. That is IoT. That's all. The watch is the equipment, watch is the device which has got sensors, it is embedded with it, it is connected to internet, it is connected to sensors, it is going to give you meaningful data. That's all. Do you understand? That's it. IoT is nothing but network of items. Each of them are embedded with sensors which are connected to internet. That's it. Sir, I'm an electrical engineer, sir. I'm an instrumentation engineer, sir. How do I learn IoT? I do not know programming. This is a very common question that most of you ask. I'll tell you something very clear. I am not a computer science engineer, but I am a computer science professor. That tells you the story. Most of the books I have authored, out of 45 books, almost 35 books are computer science books. The easiest thing that you can ever do in this world is programming. Believe it. That's it. We have a mental block. We all have a mental block, including myself. I had it. The moment I was pushed onto the ocean of programming, I had to do it. I had to swim. I was with instrumentation department. I was with instrumentation engineering completely in my BTech, and the MTech was again aligned mostly towards instrumentation engineering. When I was recruited in Wipro, they pushed me onto the ocean. I have to swim, and we have to learn. That's it. That's how we learned. Anybody can do programming. Programming is no difficult, and IoT is not only programming. IoT has got many layers over it. Believe that. IoT is easy. It's the easiest of all technologies that is available today. So you can learn. Don't feel that if I do not know programming, I cannot do it. Now, do we have any standards with IoT? Sir, is there any standards available, sir? Like many standards are available for many of the technologies. Yes, people have already drafted a lot of standards. Many of us are not aware of it. Let's learn it today. Standards.ieee.org/innovate/IoT. I'll share this PPT with you guys, so don't worry. You can refer it later. This site has got the list of standards that are curated for IoT. They have curated so many standards, and it's very nice. And I request you honestly to go through it to understand things better. There are 140 standards as of now. As of now, it is 140. They keep increasing it every day through proper approvals and process. Now, the next question, sir, where did IoT start? Where is it going to go tomorrow? Where IoT started, where it is going to go tomorrow? Right, let me answer you this question very simply. How old do you think IoT would be? IoT is older than me. I am 37 years old. IoT is almost 38 years old. People have started talking about IoT and the technology 38 years back. It's a old technology. We are actually lagging. We lack and we lag. The number of years that we are behind in education in technology with respect to technology is at least 25 years. All these technologies are already available in market. So we are reaching a little late, but we need to speed it up. Now, let me tell you what is wireless sensor networks. It all started there. It all started at wireless sensor networks. Wireless sensor networks is called father or mother of IoT. And who is the daughter of IoT or son of IoT? It is cyber physical system. Today we are in IoT. Yesterday we were in wireless sensor networks. Tomorrow we are going to be in cyber physical system. I'm going to explain you all these three very clearly. I told you what is IoT with a simple definition. Now, what is a wireless sensor network? Very simple. During my UG days, way back in 2002-3, if I see my professors, all of them would be doing PhD in wireless sensor networks. Most of them would be in wireless sensor networks. So what do you mean by that? Very simple. It is about collecting data in a coordinated manner from multiple sensors. That's all. They just studied about collection of data in a coordinated manner from multiple nodes. That's it. It's called wireless sensor network. They have to be collected wirelessly. Finished. Now, what is IoT? IoT is about using internet to collect the data, to push it onto cloud or somewhere, do something meaningful, get a meaningful result. And what is cyber physical system? Tomorrow's world is cyber physical system. What is it? Your body is a cyber physical system. Very complex engineering that anybody can think about is your human body. That's the most complex engineering system. That's the reason in a multi-specialty hospital, they've got multiple departments for brain, for kidney, for liver, lungs, everything they have a department, right? That's very complex. Likewise, whenever you have a very complex system, we call it cyber physical system. I can tell you a simple example. Most of you would have flown in an aeroplane. The aeroplane is a cyber physical system. The modern flights that we have today, Boeing 777, 787, or Airbus A380, all of them are most suitably to be called as cyber physical system. Why, sir? Very simple. It is a culmination of multiple departments that come together. How do you say that, sir? Very simple. Aeroplane, the structure, the fundamental policies are all aeronautics engineering. Simple. Second, It's all mechanical engineering that makes it fly. It's all mechanical engineering. Internally, everything is mechanical. And the power supply, the system runs everything through electrical and electronics. Without electrical and electronics, flight won't take off. Now, all the flights are software controlled these days. So computer science engineers play a major role. Now the external coating, shield, everything is done by chemical engineers. They need chemistry. And most important point, the wings and the structures are not made by mechanical engineers. They are made by civil engineers. Civil and structural engineers are there who are working on that. So if you see that I named about 6 to 7 departments in seconds which can make the flight. There is a lot of technologies. There is a lot of different domains that come together, and that constitutes a cyber physical system. In that, IoT is a small component. Remember, IoT is not the complete stuff there. IoT is one of the complete stuffs there. IoT is one of the smallest components there, which can help you in getting something done. Where, sir? Very simple. I can have sensors in the wing, and the sensors wing pressure can be monitored, and that is done through IoT. I can analyze what is the icing that happens over the flight. When you fly at 30,000 feet, it's minus 70 degrees centigrade. So it will be icing. There will be automatically icing over the flight surface. So what happens? Somebody has to measure it. There are sensors that gets the data and that goes on to the next level. That is done through IoT probably. And the flight data, whichever flight is flying, I collect the data and I analyze if the flight is flying safe. That's IoT. So tomorrow is cyber physical system. I'll give you a very simple example which can make you understand this better. I'm sitting in a small room. If I have a temperature sensor here, and if I control the air conditioner here through internet for this room alone, I call it IoT. If I do it for thousands of rooms which is available in the same building, I call it cyber physical system because the complexity increases. That's all. We are heading to a world of cyber physical systems, and the jobs are going to be numerous. You'll get a lot of opportunities, and it's going to be the fun-filled as well as challenging world. That's all. I have conveyed you clearly what is what in terms of fundamentals. I'm going to take you through to the next level where I'll be able to explain you very clearly about what are all the layers of IoT, how IoT is all structured. I'm going to explain you that, and then I'll show you a very simple demo that I have built for some contest, and I'll tell you how exactly it works also. It will be very interesting, and I'm very sure about it. We'll go through it. I'm sharing my screen right now. If you're not able to see it, let me know. Right, sir, where do I learn IoT, sir? This is one question that I get from everybody. Everybody asks this question, sir, how do you learn IoT? I'll give you the materials. I'll refer you with the contents as well. At the end of the session, after the 4th day, I'll give you all the materials in a drive link and I will paste it in the chat box. You can refer to that. That will be more than sufficient for you people to learn IoT and to do something fundamental, something very good with IoT, right? We will go ahead with the very important component right now, which is nothing but the layers in IoT. How do we build an IoT system? What are all the layers that are available in IoT? What do you mean by layers, sir? Very simple. When I build something, I need layers. You think of a pizza. What are all the layers available there? I need to have a pizza cake. I mean the pizza bread in the bottom. I need to have the next line with cheese. I need to have maybe sauce in the next line, and over and above that. I have multiple layers, right? That's fundamentally layers. You cook. Cooking is all about layering. You drive. Driving is all about layering. Everything is layered here. We make it layer because it is very easy for you to track. IoT is no different. It is made of 7 layers. The first layer is nothing but the sensor layer. What do you mean by sensor layer, sir? Very simple. If I'm building an application to monitor temperature, I need to select appropriate temperature sensor. If I'm going to monitor the humidity, I'm going to get the humidity sensor. So likewise, I need to select the temperatures like select the sensors like the temperature, the humidity, the accelerometer, the pressure sensor, or whatever sensors you select come under this layer. The first layer is all about getting the sensory inputs, and it is called the sensor layer. What is the second layer? The second layer is all about computation layer or processing layer. What do you mean by that, sir? Sir, you are getting data. Somebody has to process the data, right? Without processing the data, it is of no use. I keep collecting the temperature data, and if it is stored, what is the use? I keep collecting vegetables. If I'm not cooking, what is the use? I need to cook. So we need to cook the data. We need to understand the data. For that, we need microprocessor or controller. The boards like Arduino, Raspberry Pi, PIC, ARM, Intel boards, all of them coming into picture, and they are called as the processing layer components. First layer was sensor layer. Second layer is the processor layer. What is the third layer, sir? How do I connect the processor and the sensor? I need interfacing, right? Who will connect it? We will have to connect it, and we need protocols for it. What are all the protocols? Like RS-232, USB, I2C, CAN, SPI, SCI, all these things come into picture in the third layer. And I have sensor, I've got microcontroller, I'm going to connect them together with the cable, and that is called interfacing. What is the fourth layer? The fourth layer is RF. What is RF, sir? Wi-Fi is all about RF. When you talk about internet, it is all radio frequency. Without RF radio frequency, nothing works. So I need to connect my system to Wi-Fi. For that, I need Wi-Fi layer. So the fourth layer is Wi-Fi layer. The first layer I have sensor. The second layer I have microprocessor. Third layer I connected them together. Fourth layer I connected them to internet. So when I want to connect them to internet, I need RF. So that RF is nothing but your internet, your Bluetooth, your NFC, your Wi-Fi, Li-Fi, everything comes under one category called as RF. So when you want to connect, when you want to share data, it's all RF. Remember it. Now, what is the fifth layer, sir? Very simple. I connected to the sensor. I used interface to the microcontroller. I then connected to internet. I need to push the data onto the cloud or to some server. Now, I get the data about the temperature. For example, temperature sensor or humidity sensor. I collect a lot of data. I keep collecting data. I need to send the data in the same order. If I receive the data, I need to send the data back in the same order. You cannot change the order. For an instance, I'll give you a simple example. You all must be having Facebook Messenger with you. In your mobile or in your system, you must have had that facility. When you chat with somebody, if they are leaving suddenly in between, you type messages. Tomorrow when he is coming or she is coming, they will be able to see the messages in the same order that you have pushed. Do you remember? You must have tried this out. You have sent the messages. Take WhatsApp. You are pushing the messages. You will get the messages in the same order as you have sent. For example, if I say, I love India, I love world, I have nobody as enemy. It should go in the same order. It cannot swap the order, right? So that is done through protocols. And there are protocols like MQTT, which is called a message queue telemetry transport, COAP, constrained application protocol. We have many protocols like this, and they are helping us out in pushing these messages onto cloud, and that forms the messaging layer. Now, what is the first layer? The first layer is all about sensors. The second layer is all about microcontrollers. The third layer is all about interfacing these two. The fourth layer is all about connecting it to internet. The fifth layer is ensuring that the data is going properly to the cloud. What is the sixth layer, sir? Whenever you have any application developed, whenever it has to finally end up with an Android app, that is the end user knows only this. The end user is capable of understanding only this, which means they need an application. So that application has an UI. That's the sixth layer. I need to have a fantastic UI that will let the user know that this is the output. What is the seventh layer? The seventh layer is none other than the application layer. Smart home, smart city, smart parking, smart energy, smart retail, whatever you want, you can call it. And you are building the IoT application with this 7 elements, 7 stages or 7 layers. Now I'm going to show you a very simple example, which is very relevant to this 7 layers also. And then I'll explain you how exactly it works as well with a very simple demo. I hope till now it is all clear. Is there any queries till now? Do you have any queries till now? I want somebody to acknowledge me so that I understand that things are going fine. Otherwise, it will be very monotonous in online platform. Do you have any queries till now? If you have any queries, you can probably post that in the chat box. Do you have any queries? All fine, right? Am I audible? Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Right. Is it clear till now?
Yes, sir. It is very much clear till now, sir.
Perfect. Very good. So I'm going to show you a very simple example which we have built. I have built the system, and this system is something very close to my heart. I'll tell you why. This is the first product that we have built for a competition. I have participated in about 100 hackathons till date. I participate. I go and sit and code. Okay, including Harvard one that was introduced, that was told during my introduction time. I go for a lot of hackathons, and most of the hackathons demand you to build products with IoT. Remember it. Most of the hackathons want you or demand you to build products, build prototypes for the problems that they throw. One such problem was thrown at us during the hackathon conducted by Government of India and CAA. I'll tell you what is it. It's a very interesting hackathon. There, they wanted to solve the problem of the farmers, agricultural related issues they wanted to solve. And we came up with an idea that was selected and that went to the finals. And this idea was very well regarded, and we got the first prize even in GE, General Electronics. Industrial IoT Hackathon. First prize we have got. I'll tell you what exactly we have built. It's a very simple system. I'm staying in Coimbatore, as you know. I told you that right in the beginning also, I believe. In Coimbatore, this is the coolest place here in South India. If you see that we are very close to Ooty. Ooty, you know, right? Ooty is one of the best places where you can come and stay. It's just 1 hour away from us, 1.5 hours away from us. We can drive for a tea to Ooty. So I took Ooty as a reference, and what happened is, I wanted to know what are all the problems that the farmers in Ooty are facing, right? I wanted to understand that. Then I understood that Ooty is the #1 place in the country which is producing plums. You know, plum fruit, right? Ooty is #1 for doing it. Similarly, Ooty is also #1 in manufacturing cut roses. You must have had roses in the bouquets and all, right? Bouquet has roses. That's all manufactured, that's all produced in Ooty. And tomatoes, #2 is Ooty. They pack and send a lot of tomatoes all over the South India. They are the source for it. But what happened, you know, they said that it was a very interesting problem. They say that most of their producers are wasted during the transport. I pack tomato and I send. It is damaged during the transport, sir. It is not consumable. Most of them are getting spoiled during the transport, sir. Plum fruits, 50% they get spoiled during transport. It is believed that every year about 50,000 crores of Indian rupees are wasted in terms of agricultural producers. It is more than the budget of many departments together. 58,000 crores we are wasting. So we took this as a problem statement and I went to Ooty to analyze what more things are there. Then they said that, sir, while manufacturing or while producing, we have a proper place to store. While selling, they have a proper place to store at the seller's place. They have an AC setup there. Most of them have got a proper setup. During transport, we are not able to monitor. During transport, we never know what happens. So there is a problem. If I can monitor during the transport about the quality, it's going to be great. That's what they have told us. And that was a very interesting problem, very real time. Whenever you talk about something, it has to be real time. If it is not real time, then it is not worth it a problem. Right. So what happened is, we then devised a system where we understand that the tomatoes are packed this way. Tomatoes or whatever they manufacture, they pack it in a dabba box. They seal it and they send it into the lorry or truck. They pack hundreds of boxes. Maybe in a lorry, they pack about 100 boxes. They push it, you know, stack, right? In computer science, in the data structures, you must have heard of the stack. You push, you pop. What is pushing? Pushing is into the lorry. What is popping? Taking it out of the lorry. Very simple, taking it out of the vehicle. Now, they start from Ooty with hundreds of boxes. They go to Chennai. Chennai is about 500 kilometers away from Ooty. Every night this happens. Every night they transport. So from Ooty, when they move to Chennai, it is not only Chennai, there are many intermediary cities which are available, which gets the service. They deliver 10 boxes at Coimbatore, 10 boxes at Tirupur, 10 boxes at Salem, 10 boxes at other city, and then they go to Chennai. You understand the point, right? It's not only done to Chennai. They drop it in between. Now, what we wanted to do is, we wanted to analyze the quality of the perishables during the transport, and we wanted to rate each box. Each box has to be graded. We did it. The boxes are graded real time, and that data goes to the driver. The driver can now see the mobile phone, and box 1 grade A, box 2 grade B, box 3 grade C, like that will be clearly displayed. And when you go with box 1 as grade A, if it is grade A, it can travel for longer distance. Grade B, it can travel for shorter distance. Grade C, it should be delivered at the earliest. So what do we do now? We analyze the quality of the perishables during transport real time, and we make the delivery to happen before the vegetables and perishables are getting spoiled, so that that can be delivered and sold and can be consumed before they are spoiled. All these are done real time. Now, how do we do it, sir? Very simple. Humans have a very natural system here. And when I'm not well, what is the first thing that my mother does? My mother will touch my neck. She will touch my neck to see if I'm all well. You must have done that same to your parents or to your sister or your brother. Why is that so? The temperature variation is the first hint. Fruits also have that. Fruits and vegetables get the temperature varied if they have the tendency to get spoiled, right? So the temperature of the fruits are to be monitored. What is the second thing? Why is our toilet smelling, stinking? It's because we urinate and the urine has got methane. Methane is always stinky, and we need to understand the methane's present, and we need, fruits also have that. When the fruits are about to be spoiled, they release methane, and we can understand that they are about to be spoiled with the gas sensor. So we chose the gas sensor, we got the temperature sensor. And humidity, you must have seen. I have a fresh fruit, it will not have any watery content over it. but when it is about to be spoiled, you can see the dots of water over it. So that's called humidity. It's getting spoiled, and we can understand the humidity level through that watery surface out there, and we will be able to measure that also. So we have used the humidity sensor, the temperature sensor, the odor sensor. We collected the data, we pushed it onto the cloud, we did a quick analysis, and then we will tell the driver what is what. The driver has to just take the app, see that, and whichever box has got the grade clearly will be displayed, and he can deliver it in the appropriate place. We have got a map also available there, and the map will tell him where to go. Without wasting time, I'm going to show you the demo right now. I hope you definitely like it. I hope the screen is already shared and you can see the screen. I've got the complete system set up along with the vegetables. We are going to monitor the quality of the vegetables real time. Here we have certain vegetables available, out of which we have purposefully kept some vegetables which are rotten. This is rotten, this is rotten, this is semi-rotten. Now we have got sensors here. This sensor will be capable of measuring the temperature as well as humidity, and this sensor will get the odor. So once the data is obtained, it will be transferred to the microcontroller, which is here. My pencil is marking with that now. This microcontroller will collect all the data and it will be ported onto the cloud. So once the data is onto the cloud, you can see that the data is getting recorded consistently real time. So once the data is recorded in the cloud, the analytics will be made and the decision can be arrived, as in which box has to be delivered at which place. Now I'm opening my app which we have designed, and you can say that after some point in time, you will get the grade for each box. Here the first box which we have has got the grade C, which means that it is having poor quality, which means that it has to be delivered at the earliest. Now where to deliver it will be the point now we need to address. Click address and it will immediately take you through the map. And here, if you start navigating, it will also give you the complete path for the driver to assist him towards delivering it properly. All this happened real time, particularly the decision making and the map update happens definitely in real time, which will help the driver to make the decisions immediately to deliver the boxes. Thank you. Here you can see that. I hope you understood how exactly the system worked. This system got the first prize in the General Electronics IoT Hackathon, and many hackathons we have used a similar kind of system. Now, what we are working is to understand the quality of the meat. Meat's quality is to be monitored, and we are working on that. Also, we are monitoring the quality of the lavatories in the flight. The in-flight lavatory monitoring is to be done. So we are working on that, and we have almost done that. And we are monitoring the toilets, public toilets available, where we can understand that this is the time to clean the toilet, right? That's what we are doing right now, and it's very, very interesting, and it's very easy to do. The entire project costed me 500 rupees. That's all, just 500 rupees, finished. So it's very easy to do. And in this project, if you see what are all the layers, the first layer was the sensor. What are all the sensors we used? We used the sensors like the pressure sensor, the temperature sensor, the humidity sensor, and the water sensor. What is the microcontroller I used? I used Node MCU microcontroller there. You must have seen it. That's the second layer. I used USB cables to interface. Third layer. I used the Wi-Fi to connect it. Fourth layer. I used the MQTT protocol to push it onto the cloud. Fifth layer. I used a simple UI to show the results to the final person who is seeing it. The end user. That's the sixth layer, user interface layer. What is the seventh layer? The seventh layer is nothing but the application. What is the application we have built? We have built something called as smart perishable management. That's all. Do you all understand? It's all easy. Maybe I can get one or two replies in the chat box if you understand. Is it understandable? Did you like the demo? I'm going to show you something more. Did you all like the demo? I want chat.
Yes, it was very good demo, sir. Thank you for
Great.
that.
Yeah, we are going with the next one right now. Let me tell you something. It is not so easy to understand how do we start with IoT, right? So what I have done is I have made a very good set of materials and very good set of videos for you guys, and I'm going to show you that, as in how do we start with the installation, how do we start with the interfacing sensors today. Today I will try to interface at least 4 or 5 sensors that I have got ready, and I'm going to show you that. I hope you definitely like it, and in case you have any queries there, you can stop me. Let me go ahead and show you how to start from the simple installation. I assume that you people want the fundamentals mostly, and then no, we need not put. I'll answer all your questions at the end of the session. So please type your questions there, and I'll be able to answer the questions, but not immediately. I'll answer them at the end of the session. Okay. You type whatever questions you have. That's the way I normally do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to install the Arduino IDE first, and then I will show you how to interface sensors like LED, LDR, FSR, IR sensor and potentiometer sensor. I'm taking these 5 as the target today. I will show the code. I'm going to code. I'll show you the code. I'll show you the demo and the results clearly. If you want, you can make a note of it also. Otherwise, that's fine. I'll give you the PPT, which you can refer later. Let's first understand what are all the things that we need. The first thing that we need is we need to be familiar with the Arduino IDE. Without this IDE, you cannot do much. IoT is blind without this IDE. Let me go ahead and tell you how exactly this IDE works. The installation, and you will be very familiar with the Arduino IDE. Installing Arduino IDE followed by understanding the features supported in Arduino IDE is the session objective. Let's first see the installation of Arduino IDE. You need to go to the website www.ardino.cc/en/main/software. In that, you will get the screen immediately as available in front of you. If you have a Windows operating system, you need to select the Windows installer, which is shown in the right top corner right now. You can see that this is the one that you need to select for Windows operating system. If you have Mac or Linux operating systems, you select your option accordingly. Once it is done, you will be taken to the next page where you can start downloading. But before that, if you are willing to donate, you can donate $3, $5, $10, $25, or $50. Also, you are free to donate any other figures. This is not mandatory, but yet if you want to do it, you can do it. This is a free download, and when you click just download, your software is all set to be downloaded. It may take about few seconds for you to download the entire software. Once downloaded, you need to extract that downloaded exe file for you to go ahead further. As usual, just double click it. Once you double click it, the first step is to agree to the license. The license agreement is all available there. If you want to read through, you can read it through comfortably, and then you can agree to it by clicking the I agree button. So what is the next step? We need to go for the options to be selected. Install Arduino software, install USB driver, create a shortcut menu, create desktop shortcut, associate .ini files are the options. If you want all the options, you can select all of them. Otherwise, you can ignore few. For example, create desktop shortcut or create start menu can be ignored based on your options. And then once the tick is enabled or disabled, you are free to go to the next step. Click next, and that's end of the second step. Once it is done, you got to select the installation folder, which means there is where your Arduino will be installed completely. People call it destination directory. It can be C drive, D drive, or any drive. Just make sure that the space required is matching the space availability there. If only 10 MB is available, and if you require 420 MB, you cannot use it. So make sure the available space is all sufficient for you. This information will also be presented to you in the step 3. Once it is done, press the install button. It will automatically extract, and it may take few seconds to maximum couple of minutes for you to extract the entire software. And once it is done, you can close it and installation is all done. You can get the Arduino icon in the desktop had you enabled it earlier. This is the simplest way you can install the Arduino IDE. And what next? You need to be familiar with it, right? We are going to tell you about how do you use the Arduino IDE. The moment you open it, you can get this window as you see in the screen right in front. You've got 5 icons there: tick mark, right hand side arrow, a document icon, an upward arrow, a downward arrow. All these are available, and each of them has got a specific meaning. The tick icon is used to compile or verify. This compiles your file once you are done with your software writing process. The right hand side arrow is for uploading your code after compilation into the Arduino board. Next icon is a document icon, where when you click it, you can create a new .ini file. And there is an upward arrow button which can be used to open the already created .ini file. The upward arrow button which is available can be clicked to open the previously created .ini file. The downward arrow button is used for storing the created INO file. It could be a new file or it could be after the changes. You can use it either way. Now, you need to know how exactly to use the button that has been highlighted in the screen right in front of you. That is called serial monitor. It is used to view the data which flows through the communication port. People call it COM port. You need to go to File, and in File, there are a lot of examples available already which has been preloaded, and it is expected that you try all those to get familiarized with the usage of these fundamental buttons. It's very easy, yet they are very efficient. Here, we have shown you that examples column, and inside that you can see the built-in examples are all listed. You can check it out and it would be very easy, and most of the codes are self-explanatory. Let's understand what a COM port is all about, because we have just told you some time back about COM port. When Arduino is connected to a computer, it assigns a communication port for serial data transfer, and often people refer it as COM port. This communication port can be found by going to the device manager, and in there is an option called ports. We have highlighted it in front of you for your easier understanding. The COM port number must be noted, and it is very important to do that because the same COM port number must be selected in the Arduino IDE at the later stage. Only then the compilation would be successful. And all this process, whatever we are explaining here, is for Windows operating system. It could slightly differ when you go with Linux-based operating system. The COM port and the board selection is the next important step that you must follow. Before uploading the Arduino code, it is important for you to select which type of board you are going to use. There are multiple variants available in Arduino itself, and we had seen that earlier. So you are writing code and the code has to go into the board. The right board has to be selected, only then the board can handle the code. Here you can see that the board selection has been presented as a screenshot. The board name can be Arduino, and you can select the perfect board that you have in front of you from these available options. Similarly, the COM port has to be selected, and we have already made a note of the COM port from the device manager, which I explained in the previous slide. Now, you will have to select the same COM port here for you to have a seamless working. Once it is done, you are all set to go. Just visit the website https://www.arduino.cc/en/main/software. This is the link that I have also mentioned in the PPT. Now, when you click that link and when the page gets loaded, you will have the information as present in front of you right now. If you have a Windows operating system, you need to click this Windows installer for Windows XP and up. Any versions later will be supporting this. And in case you've got Mac OS 10, you can select this, and any variants of Linux is also supported here. Once this is selected, you will get the immediate window as you see in front of you right now. And it asks you for donation. It is a request and not mandatory. Right. I hope you have understood how do we install and use the Arduino IDE. This is to be installed. Without this Arduino IDE, nothing works literally in IoT. So now what are we going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of interfacing exercises that will enable you to understand and to further accelerate your learning. Can we interface LED with Arduino IDE, I mean LED with your system, and see if it is working fine? I'm going to do that right now, and I'll show you the step-by-step process for it. It is very easy, and the code is also to be explained. I'll explain you the code very clearly. It is very easy. If you have any queries, you stop me in between. I'll be able to help you. Right. So I'll share the screen right now. You see the procedure. Please understand, coding is part of it, and it is not everything. It's easy, right? I'm going to show you that right now. The brightness using Arduino Uno. Also, the clarity about PWM pins will be given in this session. Let's get into LED brightness control using Arduino Uno. Interfacing an LED is the first step that one should do before programming for the brightness control. If an LED is directly connected to a DC power supply, it could as well damage the LED because the recommended voltage ranges are not more than 5 volts. Hence,
it is always important to place a resistor in series with the LED in order to limit the excess current which could flow through the LED. It will protect the LED from damaging whenever there is a higher voltage flow. We have seen this in the fundamentals of electronics, where we have explained the role of the resistor very clearly. Resistors are not only used to limit the current through the LED, but also they can be used to pull up or pull down voltages from anywhere in the midst of a circuit. This helps in protecting the components from blowing up. So resistors play a vital role in any circuitry, thereby protecting the components of the circuitry from any damage. Here we have used a red LED, breadboard, 220 ohm resistor and an Arduino Uno board. And the connections are clearly visible in front of you as well. The brightness control of the LED has to be done right now, but how do we do it? For controlling the brightness, the voltage across the LED must be controlled. A digital wiring, that is, sending in the high or low across the LED, cannot control its brightness because it is just switching on and off. Hence, a variable voltage must be returned across the LED using analog write function from digital PWM pin. Analog write of X, Y is used to output variable voltage from digital PWM pin, where X is nothing but digital or analog pin on which the voltage is to be applied, and Y is nothing but the amount of voltage we got to apply. Now, analog write cannot be used to output variable voltage from all the digital pins. Variable output voltages can only be given through digital PWM pins. This is very important to understand. In this board, whatever we have shown in front of you, we have highlighted the PWM pins. The pin numbers, which you can see here, 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11 are called as PWM pins, and they are used in this programming purpose, whatever we are doing now. And all these pins are having a tilt sign before it, which shows that they are PWM pins. Even analog pins of Arduino Uno cannot be used to get the variable output voltage. Only digital PWM pins can be used for this purpose. Remember, PWM pins only can be used for this purpose. Now, we need to write the code. We have connected the LED to the digital pin 9 of Arduino board, which means I'm going to take you through the connections again. You can see this. The pin number 9, digital pin, PWM pin is connected appropriately. You can see it here. And ground is connected appropriately. You can see it here. And we have got the resistor used as appropriately as it has to be to prevent the LED from getting damaged. The point to be noted here is 9 is nothing but the PWM pin, and ground, you know what is it. And the only thing that we have added in addition is the resistor. Let's get back to the business where we have to code. We have connected the LED to digital pin 9. Initial brightness of the LED should be set to 0. The change in brightness, which means the fading amount, the rate at which the LED glows, has to be increased or decreased, but in steps of 5. This is again as per our interest, and you can change it. So int LED equal to 9. This shows that PWM pin 9 is used. Int brightness is 0. The initial LED brightness is 0. Int fade amount equal to 5. The steps which they are going to be increased or decreased is 5. Now, we need to write the code where we are going to use pin mode function. The pin mode function is used to set the digital pin as output because we are only writing the voltage out through the digital pin. We are just writing it. So void setup, inside that the pin mode LED, output. We are setting the LED port as output port, which means the LED is going to serve as an indication as the output. Now, we got to go to the next part of it where we will use the function loop. In the void loop function, initially the voltage across LED is increased till it reaches 4.48 volts. That is, in digital terms, it should be seen as 255. Then it is decremented to 0 volts and the process is continuously repeated. The maximum value that can be returned through a digital PWM pin in Arduino Uno is only 255 because it has got only 8-bit PWM timer, whereas it can read the values over the range of 0 to 1023 due to the availability of 10-bit ADC. This has to be understood clearly and it is important. Let's go into the code. Void loop analog write LED brightness. Here we are setting the brightness of the LED pin, which is nothing but pin 9. Change the brightness for next sometime through the loop. What we are going to do now is we are going to add the fade amount. We have already analyzed this and we have set the fade amount as 5. Brightness is equal to brightness plus 5. We are incrementing it. If brightness less than or equal to 0 or brightness greater than or equal to 255, fade amount is equal to minus fade amount. Now we are reversing the direction of the fading at the end of the maximum value it can touch. Delay of 30, that's it. We are giving a delay, moderate delay there, 30 milliseconds, just to see the dimming effect clearly. You will see the practical part of it, demo part of it shortly, and that is end of it, of the interfacing as well as the brightness increment and decrement exercise of LED using Arduino Uno. Thank you. You can see the Arduino board connected with the breadboard along with the LED setup. Now the brightness of the LED is going to be controlled through the PWM option available in Arduino board. For that, we have used one of the PWM pins 9. You can see there is a tilt available there before number 9 and ground is connected as appropriately to the breadboard. Now we have used a resistor to just regulate the voltage flow to the LED in order to make it safe. Now we are going to compile the code and then we are going to show you the demo so that you can understand how exactly it works. The compilation is on now. It will take few seconds. The compilation is done. Now the next step is to burn the code and it is happening right now. The uploading is happening and it's all successful. Now you can see that the LED's brightness will go incremental first and then it will be decremental, which means the brightness is varied through the PWM option supported in Arduino code. Thank you.
I hope you understood it very clearly. I made it very slow, yet it is very important to understand. So please make sure you use the PWM facilities that is available in Arduino. I'm going to show you one product that we have built, and that's a very important product that actually has gained a lot of support and it has gained a lot of awards as well. I'm going to tell you that. I'll show interfacing exercises too, and then I'll talk about the product so that it will not be boring. I'll mix this together so that it will be very interesting. How many of you use mobile phones while you are driving? Is there any guy who doesn't use mobile phone while driving here? Then probably we are all from a different planet. Most of us use the mobile phone while we are driving and it is actually pathetic. I'll tell you something. Last year alone, 1.3 million accidents have been reported because of mobile phone usage. Believe me, 1.3 million accidents have been reported just because of mobile phone usage. And I'll have to be proud in telling you that Tamil Nadu tops the list, unfortunately, right? So many accidents happen just because of mobile phone usage. And I lost one of my very close relatives in a road accident where he did no mistake. It was all the mistake of the person who drove the vehicle behind him. He was on call while driving and he didn't know that there is a guy who is driving in front, who was wearing a helmet properly, who was putting his knob properly. Everything was proper. Speed was 40 kilometers per hour. And he was hit and killed on the spot. That's the reason that I became a teacher. I was in industry. I had to spend time with the family to regenerate everything. I had to take up the roles to make sure things become normal. So one accident, which was not an accident, it was actually a murder because it was done through his lethargy, his carelessness, and the entire family got shook. Every day, so many accidents happen like this. Every day in our country, if this has happened in US, the guy who has done that accident would have counted bars so many times, so many number of years. In India, since it is accident, we have rules which are not reluctant to punish him. The point is simple. Every year, so many people die. So I went through to analyze what exactly is the reason behind people using mobile phone while they are driving, right? Particularly two-wheelers. I was interested in two-wheeler because two-wheeler accidents are on the rise. because cars and other things, they are little heavy and they are little taller, big. So accident, even if they happen, they survive. So I wanted to go deeper into two-wheeler accidents. When I analyzed that, I came to know two facts. The first fact is that people say that I want to attend emergency calls while driving. I do not know how come they can understand that it is an emergency call when the call comes. Only when they attend the call, it becomes emergency for them. They don't realize that. So we'll have to forget those kind of people. We can't change them. Forget it. Second set of people are the ones who need help, who need technology to help them. They are the people who deliver your pizza. They are the people who deliver your papers. They are the people who deliver your food online. When you order food in Swiggy or Zomato or something else, they deliver it very fast, because if they delay the delivery, you don't accept the food. If the delivery happens after 45 minutes, the pizza is not charged. That's the way they advertise, right? You get the pizza in 45 minutes or it's free for you. Who pays the money? That will be the person who is delivering it, and 50% goes to the company probably. So these guys drive so fast and they use mobile phones for navigation checks. There comes the point. They use mobile phone for frequent navigation check, and they cannot stop in between. So they keep the phone like this and they drive. They keep the phone in this hand and they drive. If they stop in between and check with people, they delay the delivery. And because of the delayed food delivery, they get fined. And because of it, they meet with loss. Already they are poor. That's why they have come for the profession. And if they are further troubled, they go with a hefty loss. So they don't mind risking their life. They just don't mind risking their life. And they are not only risking their life, they are also risking your lives. That's the point. I'll tell you some figure which you will not believe. Last year alone, 6.5 billion UK pounds have been lost in delayed food delivery all over the world. 6.5 billion UK pounds. That's the amount of money that is wasted because of delayed food delivery. So 6.5 by 2, 3.25 almost has gone into the people who have delivered it. They take a part of it. So to avoid that, they drive really rash. They don't care. So we wanted to make a solution. Navigation cannot be cut. You need navigation support. There is no other good. It is an advancement. We have to use it. But how do we avoid taking mobile phone out? That is where our intelligence works. We bought a pair of gloves. Okay. We bought pair of gloves. You need to just wear that glove. We stitched on the surface of the glove with LEDs controlled by microcontrollers. We have got LEDs, microcontrollers, and a vibrator motor there, vibrator modules there. Now what will happen is I will give you an Android app. The Android app is just like your map. Set your source and destination. There will be an additional option called pair. Pair your Android app mobile phone with your glove through Bluetooth. Keep your mobile phone inside the pocket. Don't take it. Once it is paired, the intimation will come on your hand. It will be here. If you have to go left, the left LED will flicker. If you have to go right, the right LED will flicker. If you have to go straight, both the LEDs will flicker. Whatever directions update Google is giving you is all available here, and it can drive you. You need not keep seeing it, sir. If I keep seeing it, I will meet with the accident. That's why we have added a vibrator module. Whenever there is a change in direction, it will be helpful with a vibration to tell you that there is a change in direction. That's it. It's very easy. We have done it, and I'm going to show you the demo. It's very simple. And the most important point, if the next left or right which is coming ahead of you is less than 50 meters, flickering rate will be faster. It will flicker fast to tell you that you'll have to turn left. If it is above 50 meters, it will flicker slow. The PWM one that I have shown you, right? That's the same thing that we have used. It helped us in flickering it slow and fast. That's it. I'll show you the demo of it right now, and I hope you like it. If you have any queries on this, you can ask me. I'll be able to answer your questions. Let me show you the demo right now. Give me 1 second. One second, guys. I'll have to spot it. And we tested it at multiple roads in Bangalore, in Coimbatore. It works fine. So I hope you definitely like it. I have shared the screen.
You can see the complete demo here. We have got an app readily available for you, and that app will let you set the source and destination. We have tried this in the nearby location, and the destination is none other than the same building. Once the destination is set and the mode is selected as in walking or driving, you need to pair your equipment, and once the pairing is all done, you will get a go clearance from our device. If you have a left or right, based on that, the LEDs will start flickering. If the distance that you need to go to reach that left or right is less than 50 meters, the LEDs will flicker fast. Otherwise, it will flicker normally. that will let you breathe. Now here you can see that I've got a left turn and it is less than 50 meters, hence the flickering of the LED is fast. And after that, I head towards a straight road, which is above 100 meters. It was actually above 200 meters. So here in our app, we have calculated it as above 100 meters, and both the LEDs will glow until such time the straight road covers the stretch of 100 meters or above. If it becomes less than that, the next right or left, whatever you take, would be indicated to you through the LED indication. And you can see that now we are going to head a right hand side, so the right hand side LED is glowing. Since we have fast forwarded the video, it was a long walk, it was about 700 meters. You can see that the flickering appears faster, but it will appear much more faster when you go less than 50 meters. That will be clearly visible shortly, which you can also observe right now. And one important point for you to understand is we are getting all these feed from Google Directions API, and all the data, whatever is being given by Google, is extracted by us completely, and we are using it in our system, and that's all shown in the right hand side of your screen. And you can see that the flickering is fast right now. This is what I referred some time back. This was taken nearby location and it was a heavy traffic time last evening. Hence there is a light delay there. You can see that that's the snag that we faced last night for the recording. And all this happened real time. The data acquisition, the analysis, the update of LED status, everything happens real time. And this is the state road that we need to follow to head to our office, which we are standing right now. All these updates are given real time. And one important point that I would like to stress here is you need not keep watching the LED. We've got a module for vibrator. The vibrator will let you know that there is going to be a change. So please look into it. And that too, a left vibrator, right vibrator, both are there. So it will help you out in figuring out which direction do you need to really take. And that's the cool navigation cloud for you.
How was it? It was nice. Did you like it? Right. I'll tell you something more. This one is most awarded product. This has got the first prize in Rakuten Innovation Hackathon. This has got the prize in NEC Innovation Hackathon. This has got the prize in Titan Innovation Hackathon. We have got prizes in so many hacks. And now what we are doing, we are making it part of the steering itself. I mean the handlebar itself. And we are also making it auto indicator, because people forget to put the indicator. They don't put the left, right indicator, right? So we are now making it automatic, and it will avoid all the accidents and all the other unnecessary issues. And also we have added the NFC module here. The NFC one will help us in getting the payment realized through this. And that's it for today. I'm going to show you more interfacing exercises and more demos tomorrow. I've got many questions here, which I'll answer right now. Maybe if you have questions, you can type it also. Sir, explain the sixth layer once more. The sixth layer is nothing but the user interface layer, which is nothing but the Android app. You need to develop an app which is going to be very helpful for people to understand what is the status. That's it. That is for Mohit. Mr. Mohit has asked that question. And sir, you have to put sensors in each and every box of the perishable. No, it is very expensive in that case, right? I need one setup for 8 boxes. The sensor that the microcontroller that I have used has got 8 ports, and that can acquire data from 8 different boxes. I have got ID for each boxes, and that will be helpful. Does the system have to be placed? No, not necessarily. It can be sticked on the roof. It can be stuck on the roof. Any other questions? Amazing. Thank you. Most of you liked it. Thank you very much, all of you. And I hope you liked all the content. Tomorrow we will make it a more interesting session. If at all it was a little dull today, we will go ahead with more learning tomorrow also. Tomorrow I will show you how did we prevent the elephants from getting attacked. Human-elephant conflict. We have built a system that can avoid human-elephant conflict, and we have done that nicely. I'll show you the demo for it. Also, I'll tell you how exactly we monitored the quality of the water real time. We built a boat. We have a boat right now with our hand, and we built a boat to monitor the quality of the water. I'll show you that. I've got many more demos like this. I'll see if I can show you at least 10 demos tomorrow, so it'll be more interesting. And I'll also show you how do you control the electrical appliances at home with voice. If I say switch off fan, that's all, the fan will be switched off. If I say switch on AC, AC will be switched on. We'll see that demos also tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, manage and maintain social distancing. Love you all. Thank you for your patient listening. I hope I did not bore you guys.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very fabulous session. And
Thank you, sir.
I know each one of us enjoyed and learned better things. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. And you send me the tomorrow's link once it is ready. I'll join the session on time.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, kids. Take care.
Okay. Okay.
See you
Thank
all.
you, sir. Bye.
Bye.
This is an important announcement to all the participants. We'll be sharing you feedback link to your WhatsApp group. That feedback link is used to mark your attendance that will be used for your certifications. Thank you for your cooperations. Today's session was very nice and you all have maintained a dignity and given a very much precious time for this session. I am Professor Pankaj Sharma, coordinator of this short-term training program, extending my thankfulness to each one of you and inviting and saying, just maintain this kind of dignity for the rest of 3 days. Thank you so much. You all can leave this Zoom meeting. Thank you so much.